Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Liz Robbins, and I am a longtime sports journalist. I spent 19 years at the New York Times, and I was before that at the Cleveland Plain Dealer and the St. Petersburg Times. I interned at the Washington Post and the Boston Globe. And I was in sports for about half of that time. And then afterwards, I transitioned to cover local news, including immigration. And I have now circled back to sports, specifically women's sports, because this is what's happening right now. It is the best time to be covering sports, especially women's sports. Did you know that there are more than 10 new sports leagues that have started in the last 4 years? From sports ranging from hockey, women's baseball. There's two volleyball leagues. We've got three-on-three basketball, lacrosse, which is the sport I played at Cornell. I know I'm missing some, but flag football starting next year. It's a really amazing time for the business of women's sports and especially for storytelling in sports. So that's my brief rundown of my journalism career. But one of my favorite things is teaching journalism to high school students. So, Maddie, I am so excited to be on your podcast and not only because we had such an incredible class who 2 years ago at the School of the New York Times during the Olympics, but it was a class where the women were especially engaged and the guys were really supportive. So it was a very unique time and because I want to keep it going for the next generation. So that's a little bit about that. My new book is about in 20 and it's by Billie Jean King with me as a contributing author. And it's so incredible to have my name, oh my gosh, next to Billie or underneath Billie Jean King, the goat of women's sports. It's pretty incredible. And to me, it's really a culmination of everything that I have done in my career, covering women's sports, being an athlete in high school and really not having people to look up to or autobiographies to read or anything really, anthologies. And we have 11 chapters featuring athletes in women's sports. And we have 10 incredible female athletes, and we have one athlete who identifies as transgender non-binary. That's Nikki Hiltz, who probably has the best smile in all of sports. You just watch them win, which they do a lot in the 1500 meters. And it just gives you a feeling of this is what sports is supposed to be about. So the book profiles these athletes and doesn't shy away from their struggles and their fight against discrimination, gender discrimination, race, religion, gender of all kinds. It's really, and also disability. We have a Paralympic swimmer who's just amazing here, Mackenzie Cohn. So it is not like woohoo all the time. It's a really frank look of how teens struggled with who they were and their identity and being female athletes or being athletes who wanted to express themselves and how they became trailblazers. So this book, because it's a Billie Jean King book, isn't just about like the stories of athletes, but it's about how they're lifting up others in the sport. And Billie Jean and I wrote it in a way that's really accessible to young adult readers. So that's like 12 to 18. But honestly, it's for anybody. It's for grandmothers, it's for aunts, for uncles, for parents who are probably going to buy the book. And it goes off my theme of writing and educating, which is everyone wants to read a story. And so my first book was about the New York City Marathon and a race like no other. And so I featured six different athletes who were archetypes of the race. And so they're like universal, a cancer survivor, a grandmother, a recovering alcoholic, and then two professionals, and then one runner called a streaker who actually wore clothes, but had been doing this like 30 years in a row. So, like, sports brings out the crazy, but also just the amazing feelings and emotions. And it's about people. Journalism is about people, and that's how you connect to issues, to statistics. It's not just about wins and losses. So that's my opening. Hopefully that's given you a lot of questions to ask because I know in our class I made sure that you got quote of the day, remember? And then you followed up on it. So go for it. What else do you have?
Okay, so I was wondering how exactly you became a part of this book. I mean, Billie Jean King is such an amazing and inspirational woman. I was just kind of curious what it was like working with her and how did you become part of this?
I mean, sometimes you just have to shoot your shot, right? And I had written about Billie Jean for the International New York Times in 2023. And it was about how in 1973, so it was the 50th anniversary of how Billie Jean got equal pay for women at the US Open. So it was the first tennis Grand Slam to provide equal pay. Do you know how she did it? I don't know if you remember my lecture, but how she did it was she found the sponsor herself. So she got $55,000. She got that secured and then went to the from Bristol Myers Squibb and then went to the US Open and said, "Hey, I've got this. You gotta do this next year and you gotta give us equal pay." So the amazing thing about Billie is that she has not stopped advocating. Of course, that year she won Battle of the Sexes. I don't know if you saw the movie, which was so great with Emma Stone. And that really made her when Billy beat Bobby Riggs, the self-described male chauvinist pig, and 90 million people watched this incredible victory for women. And since then, Billy has never stopped advocating. She helped found the PWHL, as you probably know, and is also really was behind the women's soccer team trying to get equal pay. So she's been advising. Anyway, I write this story and I had been in touch with Billy's wife and partner, Alana Kloss, who's also the business partner. As Billy says, I dream it, Alana builds it. And we had been talking, and I said, do you need any writing help for the Women's Sports Foundation? Do you need any, which they also founded in 1974? I offered my services. And that's how it happened. And they're like, well, I know Billy really wants to write a book about and for young adults. And so we came up with this idea together. And, selling a book is really hard these days. So I'm so excited. Everybody on this podcast, you're listening, you're watching, but I hope that means you're reading and ordering because stories really can move you, inspire you, and maybe to become a writer or a broadcaster, if not an athlete. And then it took about a year, really, or 6 months after writing the proposal to hear back. And we got the most amazing publisher. So it's Astra Publishing House, Astra Books for Kids, and an imprint called Calkins Creek. So some of the really high-profile big publishing houses weren't really sold on it, but this publisher exactly the right publisher because not only did they do a beautiful book, but a lot of their titles are about social justice and sports. Yes, they have an interest in sports, but there's something more meaningful. And they threw their heart and soul into it, as did I, as did Billy. And we would meet and talk about it. I would give her each of the chapters. We would go through sentences. Remember how I would, grade things on Canvas? Well, Billie Jean really enjoys using pencil, which I love. And so she would circle things. We'd talk about phrases. We'd rewrite things together. We like everything. It was really, really collaborative. And I'm just so honored to be, as I said, on the marquee here.
And then I was also curious, how did you decide which athletes to feature? And
Mm.
were there any specific stories that like really resonated with you or you kind of saw yourself in as well?
Oh, yes. So like three different questions. I like those. Um, do you play soccer? Do either of you play soccer? All right. So you play volleyball? I can't remember. What no, not okay.
No.
Well, the sport that I played, I mean, I played tennis, basketball, field hockey, and lacrosse in high school, and then I ended up playing 2 years at Cornell lacrosse. There are no lacrosse players in here, but the goal was to find sports that are, really popular but also ones that are emerging. And similarly, we wanted to find the athletes that you knew that were household names, like Caitlin Clark and Naomi Osaka, obviously, but names you really should know. And the idea was to find athletes who were representative of their sport and representative in all ways. And so we have racial diversity, we have body diversity, ability diversity, um, and we have like three of the sports that are the fastest growing sports for high school girls. Do you know what they are? Quick,
Is
quick.
flag football one of them?
Yes. Good
Oh.
job. That's number one.
Probably okay, so there's basketball.
Not basketball. It's
No.
not the ones you
Volleyball?
think of. Volleyball. Sabrina, you're 2 for 2.
On fire!
All right. And the third one is
It's
hopefully there are people
tennis?
shouting it out.
Tennis?
No,
Oh.
no, 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 no. Think a one-on-one sport that usually was for guys.
Hmm.
And it's a sport that I really love. So you're stumped. You're totally stumped because we have one in here, and this person happens to be one of the premier Olympians.
Oh.
Wrestling.
Oh.
Yes.
Wrestling is one of the
Wow.
fastest growing women's sports or sports for girls in high school. So, as of last year, there were 74,000 girls participating in wrestling, which is incredible because when Amit Elor, who was 20 when she won her Olympic gold medal, when she was born in 2004, that was the first year women were in the Olympics. And when I covered wrestling, no women, I covered wrestling in college for the college newspaper. No women were doing it. Does either of you climb or do you like rock climbing? All right. So the reason why I say that is that rock climbing is really like problem solving. And in a way, that's what wrestling is because you're kind of feeling the body out and trying to use moves and incredible strength. Oh my goodness. I mean, Amit Elor has muscles we can only dream of. Here, case in point, right? Can we see that? I mean, hello.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Um, so I knew I was going to feature a female wrestler. And Billy's like, great, we're all over that. Billy liked judo, and I said, well, I think wrestling is becoming more popular. And Amit's story is really fascinating. It's heartbreaking, but it's also just so inspirational. She is Israeli American. And she does post about being Jewish, which has gotten her a lot of anti-Semitism. And on her posts, but she takes it in stride. She's, very much cultural and making challah and putting it on the braided bread, putting it on her Instagram. And in the middle of writing this about her, I went to a clinic that she ran for 93 girls, and you should have seen her shoes doing like signing autographs, shoes, foreheads, posters for 2 hours. Absolutely amazing. So I love her story, but honestly, I love them all. They're like all my children. So you name an athlete, and I will be excited to tell you about them. So
I just wanted to say real quick, I'm honestly like very surprised that those three sports are rising. And when I really think about it, at least like I can connect it with my public high school here in New
Yeah,
Jersey.
yeah,
Um, Flag football was actually a team that I like they established while I was in high school. Like they made it a varsity sport. So you can
yep,
tell like a lot like flag football is 100% on the rise within high schools. I mean, it started off very small, but then I would say like about like last year, my senior year, there were more teams participating, more schools, like all the girls really wanting to be involved, and you can really see like it's growing. And I would say same with wrestling. When I started high school, I think back in 2022, my wrestling team in my high school, it was mainly just boys. Like I think
yep.
there's only about like one or two girls on the team. But now, like last year, they have a big girls team. So it's like it is evolving. And when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, she is so right. And it's so cool and it's so amazing to see, especially with like wrestling too, because wrestling is a very like it was obviously like you said it was created for males. It's a very male centered sport.
Yeah.
So seeing like go from like one girl on a team full of boys to now like a whole group at my high school. It was like so amazing to see, and obviously me because I'm so passionate about women in sports. I was like, it put happiness into my heart because it's like it's so beautiful to see that, of course.
It is. And that experience is exactly what's happening. Sabrina, you should write like an op-ed about that. Like, I was there
Yeah.
to see it because you have the stats to back it up. Oh, I absolutely love that. Now, flag football is interesting for a couple other reasons too. What do you both know about flag football that's happening in the next couple of years?
Isn't it in the Olympics for
Exactly, exactly. You
Yeah.
can tell I'm like teaching again. It's in the Olympics, but also at some point next year, there's going to be a women's league and a men's league sponsored by none other than the NFL. So when you've got backing like that, it's pretty impressive. And but what's so cool about our flag football chapter with Deanna Flores, by the way, the World Championships start on Wednesday. The is this the 13th tomorrow? Yes, I think so. No, wait,
Yes.
today's Wednesday, the
T-
12th. Whatever
Yes.
day it is, it starts on the 13th in Germany, and Deanna plays for Mexico. Deanna Flores grew up in Mexico City and just recounts how, it's a bit of a patriarchal society in Mexico and how the girls' teams had to clear rocks from their field to play, and how she, at 5'2", was always discriminated against because they said, "You're too short to play quarterback." Well, first of all, she's really fast and has a rifle for an arm. So in flag football, you don't have to be like 6'4" like you do in, the NFL. You have to really be agile. Anyway, she recounts how, she overcame a lot of discrimination. Her teachers in high school would be really mad when she missed school and then she'd come back with all of her knees bruised. Like, I know there's no tackling, but it would still, be pretty harsh. And one of her teachers said, "How are you going to get married if you look like that?" I mean, okay. So, yeah, she overcame a lot. Anyway, Mexico just is the reigning world champions and they've beaten the US. US is really good. And there are other teams across the world that are getting better. So, yeah, Deanna Flores was amazing. And what's so cool is that each chapter is a signature Billie Jean King quote. And Deanna's chapter is "You have to see it to be it." And so obviously that's the chapter that became the title of the book. And just wanted to showcase because it's really important to have Latinas in sport. And Deanna spoke about how she wants to be a role model for people of all backgrounds, all cultures, and she has so much joy. And I think that's what you're seeing in women's sports right now. We're past the "I'm so appreciative to be playing." We're in the "we're really tough, we're really fun, we can win," but there's also like joy of being recognized.
Yeah, I think me and Sabrina, we did an interview a couple weeks ago and we really talked about this, like in the WNBA especially, all the players you really start to love, and that's what makes more women get really involved in these sports because they're not just players, they're personalities, they're people. And
Yep.
I think a lot of young girls are appealed to that. And I think that's what makes like the whole women in sports so amazing is because you really relate to those players and you see yourself in those players. And they're also having fun, which is also something that everyone wants to be doing as well.
They're gamers. They're gamers. So who are your favorite WNBA players?
Okay.
I love Brianna Stewart, love
Yeah.
Inescu. I'm a Liberty fan, so
Ooh, it's
I'm
been an up
very,
and down season. Ah,
I know. So I'm very more tailored to like the Liberty players, but I also do love Flau'jae Johnson. Flau'jae's so great. Like I love watching her. She's so amazing. I love a lot of the rookies this year I really love, especially Olivia Miles. She's been literally rocking the court, like insanity. She's also from New Jersey, so that's why I love her. And then also love I can't think. Leah Boston's also great. Love Leah
oh
Boston. And
yeah.
obviously Paige, UConn. But yeah. So those are a couple I love.
No, AZ? I mean, you always think,
Oh, AZ,
Paige and Paige.
yes.
Yeah.
AZ,
Okay.
absolutely. Gotta
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
AZ.
I
Okay.
know.
Yeah, for me, I really started getting into it during March Madness. I love because I'm a UCLA fan. I'm a UCLA house.
Yes.
So being able to like watch them win and then follow those players as they went to the W, that's what made me really interested. I love seeing players grow from college to professional leagues. So just really being able to
Yes.
like watch those players for the last 3 years and see where they are now, that's really what excites me.
Yeah, the Mystics have a couple of
Yeah.
UCLA players, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren Betts.
And Angela Dugalich.
Yes.
It's fun. That is a fun
So great.
team.
Yeah.
I mean, and Olivia Miles, she's just so cool, right?
She's so cool.
So cool.
I
Just
actually had the honor of me and one of the other members of Silent Sisters, Matea. We had the honor of getting media credentials to the Coretta Scott King Classic, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's a whole women's basketball tournament, and it happened to
incredible.
be that Olivia Miles was playing there because TCU was playing, and
Right, right.
Matei got to ask Olivia a question. It's just so cool. And like even seeing her play at TCU, she's just so cool. The way she maneuvers the ball, like I love watching her. She's just such a great person, but also just like when you watch her play, you're like, wow, she's so good. Like she is amazing.
It's confidence. The way she carries
Absolutely.
herself is just, she is a baller. And
Yes.
I don't know if you saw Don Staley's comment the other day. It was hilarious. Don's like, she's got me cursing on the Lord's day.
Yes. I saw that. Yes.
Oh my gosh, Olivia Miles changed the logo and with the glasses. So look, you're right. It's personalities are everything. And Caitlin Clark brought so many people to the league. And I think that was one of the things that Billie Jean and I were really, really conscious of. Caitlin is a phenomenon, but the league was there before her, and as she recognizes. And so we also have a veteran player, Chelsea Gray, who I don't know if you saw Chelsea the other day hit the two buzzer beaters, right?
Yes.
I mean, there is a reason why Chelsea has already won two gold medals on the Olympic team. There is a reason why she is a leader and called the point god because she just has this incredible control. She loves to pass. She loves to make people better, but then people kind of sleep on her because her assists are so good that she'll hit the game winner. So in the book, we talk about how she would practice for hours. By the way, she grew up playing, playing in the yard and playing pickup ball with all her boy cousins in Oakland, California. So she always played with guys. Allen Iverson was her favorite. There's a reason why she wears number 12, right? She couldn't get number three, so one plus two is three, which is Allen Iverson's uh, number. I covered Allen Iverson, by the way, when he was at the Sixers. So, but Chelsea would practice for hours shooting her shots, and then she would practice behind the back passes to hit the post of the backboard. So if she hit it in exactly the right way, like she would time her passes, the ball would rebound to her. If not, it'd rebound into the street. So she was that accurate in her behind the back or passing that she knew how exactly to get the ricochet. And it's those small details that just make me love why these stories matter. And you can see how much thought and passion went into becoming who they are today.
It's amazing. Um,
Absolutely. Maddie, you going?
I have one more, then yeah. I was just
Okay,
curious,
go ahead.
several of these athletes, or if all, they really had a struggle to break barriers in their respective sports. Do you see a common trend within these experiences?
I mean, I think about Kendall Coyne Schofield breaking barriers because here she is, talking about playing on a women's league where she made like $8,000, and that was as one of the highest paid players. And it took a very long time, relatively speaking, to form a league where they get paid a lot more than that. But as she said, ask for what you need, ask for what you want, but also be prepared to fight for what you need. And I think that that fight is pretty common, but yeah, suffering through like lower salaries. And for Kelsey Whitmore, we talked a little bit about being the only girl, playing with boys, and having a, closet to change in. And the same with Kendall. She'd always get like the little bathroom. The boys had the locker rooms, and she'd get a little, if she was lucky, like a broom closet to change in. So there are a lot of indignities that men just kind of accept as just, they're right and locker rooms. And the same with Amit, there was a lot of like, and Caitlin and Amit both had this from parents and other opponents, like people who were really upset that their sons were losing and like calling out, losing to Amit or Caitlin. And it's like, sorry, you got to bring it, you got to win. And it was just kind of the whole idea of women really having to prove themselves, girls having to prove themselves. And there was no baseball league, right? There was a program called Baseball for All, but this summer there's a new baseball league and it only took 70 years. So, I mean, Sabrina, you're in New Jersey, so you know the history probably of Little League and how it became, there was a whole lawsuit, and here we are, Maria Pepe, she sued, and they said, okay, girls can play baseball, but you know what? We're going to offer you softball. So it kind of, even though they never said that you could be playing baseball, it was never established. So we have like this whole structure for softball, and there was never really an infrastructure for baseball. Those are some of the common themes that you'll see in here.
Of course. So when I read this book, I took a look at the digital version, of course. You kick it off with Caitlin Clark, who, everyone knows who Caitlin Clark is, of course. Like, her
Yeah.
upbringing, how she carried herself, like through the NCAA, then the W. But then once you hear about Caitlin Clark, you flip onto the next chapter and then you hear about Deanna. And then later you hear about other names such as like Amit, of course, and then, many other athletes that like some people may not know about their stories. So, how important was it for you to kind of highlight household names, but also introduce readers to women and their stories that they have not really been exposed to before?
Yeah, it's super important, and because book selling is also a business, and you're seeing this being reflected in the WNBA this summer too. You do want household names, but the idea is hopefully some of these other athletes will become household names, not just in their sport. So Asia O'Neal, to me, she was a household name because I watched her win back-to-back NCAA volleyball championships at Texas. Also, I had the privilege of covering her father in the NBA. So at the New York Times, I was the NBA beat writer for 7 years. I covered the Nets, the Knicks, and then the entire league. And I got to know Jermaine pretty well. And so there's also, by the way, there's kind of like a NBA to volleyball link, right? LeBron James' daughter plays, and I think there's a couple others. I can't remember right offhand, but there's kind of like, hey, I don't want to do what my dad did, but I'm tall, so I'm going into volleyball. But yeah, no, you bring up a really, really good point. And, I think it was a balance of you may know this athlete, but here's how you get to know others. Caitlin, we're really thrilled that she gave us like a 45-minute interview, which was pretty gracious. And, I think you'll also see a lot of the highlights are finding the people, and this is what you do as a journalist, you find the parents, you find the coaches to really give you the insight. And Caitlin's AAU coach gave us great insight. And so, but the best part was Lisa Bluter at Iowa because Lisa was friends with Billie Jean, and Billie Jean wrote on a little legal pad, "Pressure is a privilege." And then that hung in the Iowa locker room. So everything kind of builds on one another.
Yeah, also just to continue with the 11 athletes you covered, whose stories kind of like challenge your understanding of success the most?
Understanding of success, right? Um, I really want to hire. I mean, they all are successful, right? I mean, and I think what ties them together is that they're all really type A personalities who expect so much of themselves. So I think I could talk about all of them, but Midge Purse had this amazing quote where she said, "I'm really a success at failure." And and she said it half jokingly. So Midge Purse, of course, was on the national team. She did not get to the World Cup or the Olympics. And so, in her mind, that was her failure. But let's see here. Midge not only won two NWSL championships with Gotham, she was an MVP in 2023. Then she graduated from Harvard. Not only did she graduate, a few years later, she became a young trustee on the board of overseers at a pretty turbulent time. And, it's not easy to run for election, but she did it and met a lot of people. Oh, let's see. She also she did her own reality show that she produced that was on X. And because she loves like Vanderpump Rules. So she wanted to do like, a reality TV show on women soccer players. And that was working with Serena Williams's husband. And then she has her own podcast. So, you know, she's unapologetic because she wants to win. And so if she doesn't win or do what she thinks is the ultimate success, that's a bit of a failure. But even she realizes, yeah, I guess I have won some things.
That's so interesting that she has like she created a reality show. I didn't know that because I'm also a very big like reality TV person. I love reality TV, like Vanderpump Rules you mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's like so interesting to see from an athlete because it's like I guess like if this makes sense, I feel like it's very personable to like hear things like that. It's like you kind of can connect with them like that, and I like love that. I think that's
I
so
hope you
cool.
can find it. It was so fun. It was 12 players in a house doing preseason workouts. It
Oh
was
my God.
great. And there was drama and the best part, and Midget talks about it. She's like, I didn't like how some of the producers that we brought in were trying to portray women, so I fired them.
Honestly, good for her. Like, yes, I love that.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go off with the 11 athletes again. I love talking about them. I think this is so great. Um, was there something that these athletes had said that like really like stuck with you?
I mean, yeah, Midges was great. Oh my gosh. I mean, we have to really talk about Mackenzie Cohn. Um, I think it's the first thing she ever said to me. And when I met her at the US Olympic and Paralympic Summit in New York to ask her if she would be part of the book, the first thing she says is, "Oh my gosh, yes, thank you," and starts crying. So I think that gratitude, but also understanding the influence of Billie Jean King and the honor to be part of this is so remarkable. But Mackenzie Cohen is just somebody we all can aspire to be. She was born with osteogenesis imperfecta, which is brittle bone disease. She mainly uses a wheelchair. She does walk. But what happens is her bones just break, right? And she's had more than 100 surgeries. And doctors at once, when she was really tiny, said, "You'll never walk." And then at 5 years old, she began swimming. She felt really free. But then, of course, she heard the same thing, like, "You're in a wheelchair. How can you?" But not in the water, right? And she overcame so much. But what she's doing now is even more impressive. Not only is she training for her fourth Olympics, I believe, she has 7 Paralympic medals, gold and bronze. And sorry, gold and silver, no bronze, just gold and silver. Um, you know, pretty easy. Uh, she's finishing her master's degree in public policy, and she's going to become a lawyer, concentrating on disability rights. So this is somebody we all should aspire to. And what was so amazing is, the secret behind a lot of these athletes were their parents and how they brought them up and what they would do, not like helicoptering, but her mom basically said, once you break a bone and you come back from the hospital, you can wallow for 48 hours, you can feel sorry for yourself, and then you move on. And that's a really great message for all of us because, we all have stuff. And then it's kind of like, wait a second, this isn't that big a deal. And I would say Mackenzie is just also, she's funny as all heck. And just, she was like the graduation speaker at her alma mater, Loyola. She's amazing. So, I mean, they're all amazing. Like I said, all 11, but I just love highlighting some of these stories.
Okay. Well, we had a couple other questions that aren't really book related, but
No,
just
no,
like
go for it.
we're curious about and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um, from well, I'm trying to figure out what's a good one to say. Sabrina, do you have one that you were wanting to talk about, or
Wait,
Oh
can I
my.
ask you who are your devils behind you? By the way, I covered them in the
Okay.
2001 in the
So
Stanley Cup Championships.
that is Nico Heischer, that Jack Hughes, and then I
Hmm.
have Jesper Bratt, and then the rest are Yankees.
Wow. Wow, you got the whole network there.
I
That
know.
uh
I grew up in Central Jersey, so I'm like about 30 minutes away from Prudential, and my dad was a huge Devils fan, so my upbringing was with the Devils, but now, of
okay.
course, with the PWHL, I began to like love women's hockey as well.
I
So
know. Sirens games are really fun, but I just wish they would get more fans. It's a tough place to play,
yeah,
but the games are great and get good seats. So
absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
especially
wee
Sirens.
wee. Okay.
Yeah, woo.
Sorry.
no, all good. Um,
Matt, I point out a good one if you want me to ask
yeah,
it.
go ahead.
Okay, so as a journalist, you've spent your career covering sports, and now you've written the book highlighting women who are changing sports. What advice would you give to young women who want to build a career in sports media today?
Things are really different today than they were 30 years ago. Obviously, print media is pretty much disappearing, and there's a growth of influencers who definitely have their place. But I also think there is a real need for journalists who are interested in the money behind women's sports and the business. That is really crucial. But also telling stories that to be very curious, you have to tell a wide-ranging story about an athlete. And it's a little bit harder these days with the access. It used to be a lot easier, but now, women athletes have agents and they're very protected. So my advice would be to work hard for a unique story That's how you're going to be recognized. If you do things that other people are not. I always say what my field hockey coach used to tell me is go all out today, and then you can recover tomorrow. So then again, there's not a lot of recovery time when you're doing the business of sports journalism, but work harder than you think you need to work. And it always does pay off. Read, people who read are going to have a leg up and not just watching or scrolling. Honestly, I do a lot of scrolling, so because I want to see what's out there, but I also do a lot of reading. And the reason, and we talked about this in the class, is that you become a critical thinker and you ask better questions, right? And so I would always say, good writing is good reporting, and good reporting is good preparation. See, it's all coming back, Maddie, right? Yeah. And preparation, like the questions you're asking me, will really lead you to more surprising details, right? As a journalist, you want to surprise, but you also want to report on the tension. Like there is a lot going on right now, and in order to get access, you kind of feel like, well, I have to be super nice and be a cheerleader. You're sideline sisters, right? So from the sideline, you can report, but that doesn't mean that you like everything has to be nice and supportive. You're supportive if you're being honest and if you have facts to back it up, right? There's so much data right now, and you can use that as a way into a conversation. And it's a great business to be in now because there's so much more out there. There's more opportunity. There's opportunity that even though some media operations are closing, you're creating your own. Look what you just did. Or there are also teams, if you don't want to, tell stories for independent media, there are teams that need your services. So every era has something different, and I'm really excited for your generation.
Thank you. And then,
Just adding, oh, sorry, Maddie, go ahead.
no,
I'm
you
sorry.
got this.
Oh, okay. Just out of curiosity, Liz, were you always into journalism? Like, obviously, I know you played lacrosse at, or was it field hockey or lacrosse? I'm sorry, I get the two very
I
confused
know they're
sometimes.
always the same. No, although field hockey, God, I hate because like your knees get bruised and your back hurts. No, I played lacrosse.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I played it in field hockey for like 4 years growing
Okay,
up.
yeah.
So was I always into it? Yes, I was an assistant editor in my high school paper. And then when I got to Cornell, I wasn't sure what section I wanted to join. And the sports editor, every editor was giving a little brief about their section. He stands up, he's like, join sports, we're more fun, and sits down. So I'm like, okay. And here we are. But no, I didn't know I was going to be a journalist. I had a couple of ideas, and I thought I actually might go on to be a professor of history. My degree is in history at Cornell. I was an Italian Renaissance history major, so European history. The only difference is sources don't talk back from the 1500s, 1400s. But again, critical thinking. I got involved in something called the Association for Women in Sports Media. Awesome, AWSM, which I encourage you because I'm pretty sure there's a Syracuse chapter. And that kind of was my pathway. And I met mentors there. I got an internship, and then I'm like, all right, well, let's see how this goes. I'd taken the GREs, thinking I'll go to grad school. Oh well, instead of that, I've written two books, so it's almost like getting a master's degree. I feel like the research and the time is. So yeah, here we are, 35 years later, but it's always a variation of writing, teaching, and communication.
Oh.
Absolutely.
And I was just kind of,
Maddie, yeah.
yeah, yeah. When like a young athlete or a young girl or just someone
Yeah.
who's really interested in sports reads your new book, what is
Yeah.
something you hope they take away from these stories?
Ah, that it's okay not to be okay. I think Naomi Osaka really talked about that. But also, it's really okay to be sweaty, to win, to be yourself. And even if you don't know who that is yet, to just say, all right, I'm in the process of figuring it out. That's, it's always tough identity wise. Like, who am I going to be? What am I now? And if not now, when? It's like, and you want to succeed too. Like high achieving people want those results. It's not linear, and there will be failures. But look what happens when you work hard and you do have talent. I would say people are not always going to be a professional athlete after reading this, but it may inspire them to be an activist, or it may inspire them to be a storyteller. And one of the greatest things about the book is that these athletes, including Billie Jean, were also inspired by books.
Hmm.
So some of the athletes had books on their shelf that they'd read before bed. Billie would put Althea Gibson's book, tennis player, and put the book under her bed, under her pillow at night. It's kind of like osmosis, right? And I hope that this book, well, it really wouldn't make a very good pillow because it's substantial. I hope it kind of greets people when they wake up or when they go to sleep, and to say, okay, if I can see people who look like me or act like me or think like me, then I too can do it.
That's great.
So amazing. It's so cool. I love it. I really do. And this is
Yeah.
why books and reading so important. Like very important.
I
Really.
know. And also for both of you, I'm thrilled that you're doing the Syracuse program. Make sure you take classes that are outside Newhouse, and I'm sure there's like freshman writing classes, things that are kind of interesting, whatever, American literature. History's great. History's great. But I also took a wines class because, I was down the road at Cornell, so I don't know if Syracuse has anything like that. Should come to Cornell sometime to watch a hockey game. Um, there's nothing like line or rink at Cornell. So I don't know. I guess Syracuse has a team. I don't even know. But they do have a lacrosse team, so men and women. I just, yeah, encourage you to diversify. I was, like I said, I was a history major who worked at the Cornell Daily Sun, so I was not a journalism major.
Yeah.
And, but I essentially was by working at the school newspaper for 4 years.
Yeah, I think at Newhouse we kind of get I guess like lucky in a sense because they really push us to try and like take classes outside of Newhouse because we're honestly like required to, but it's like they make us take a writing class, like
Good.
but within like I'm pretty sure I would say the humanities section, it's like
Yeah,
American literature, like all these different type of like classes to like learn about different types of writing, like poetry, creative writing, like all this stuff. So
yeah,
it's like I think I would say even at Syracuse, maybe they do this at other colleges, which I hope for journalism majors. Like they really push us to expand ourselves, not just like
good.
within sports journalism, but to like learn about other types of literature, like writing and all this stuff. So I think it's so cool
Yeah,
because I'm very passionate about writing. I love to write, and I think that's a big reason as to why I want to go into journalism.
good.
So I love learning about writing. Writing is so
Yeah.
amazing.
But I also think
And
you need,
history too.
sorry, sorry. I was also gonna say like at Newhouse they also sort of like what Sabrina was saying about pushing us. We have to minor outside of Newhouse. That's a requirement.
Cool.
So
I
I
love
think
that.
that's also like kind of cool. Like you have this intense program at Newhouse. It has that reputation, but there's also they really want you to like adventure out.
Great. Yeah, history is pretty great. And just because you have a model of what's happening now.
Hmm.
And it really prepared me when I started covering immigration. And I learned so much, whether it's constitutional history or, refugees, learned German history, Russian history. Obviously, I seem to like European history quite a bit. History of Latin America is fascinating. So, yeah, I think it's a great foundation to know about our world, which is quickly changing, but also becoming more global. And look, we had folks in our class. I think they're from Brazil. We had lots of amazing international students, but probably fewer these days that will come to Syracuse. But yeah, it's going to be a little cold up there, just so you remember. I
Just a
mean,
little bit.
worse than New Jersey, sorry, and definitely worse than California. So
Oh Lord. Absolutely.
I know.
Is there
Yeah.
any questions you have for us before we all head out or anything?
No, I think this is great.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for doing this. I really
Thank
appreciate
you so much.
you're welcome. It means a lot to me. So, best of luck to you. You guys know how to reach me
it. Yeah,
going forward and just learn a lot. Throw yourself into it. You'll
thank
recover the next day.